Hi, I'm Justin from Urban Puppies and I'm here with George Sofronides from Orivet. George is a genetics expert and he's on the forefront of canine genetic testing in Australia. So George, what is DNA and what is DNA testing?
Well, DNA, good question, Justin, and lovely to meet you. Yes, I am on the forefront. Thanks for that great introduction. DNA is short for a word called deoxyribonucleic acid. And now you know why scientists like to abbreviate things. So again, deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. It's material that we inherit from both our parents, and guess what? Both our parents inherit from their parents, which is our great parents, and then so great. So it's something that we inherit through our ancestry.
Why is DNA testing important?
Why is it important? Well, I don't know if it's important. I think it's available and it's accessible to people because it allows for breeders to be able to screen for potential genetic diseases and see whether they are potentially negative carriers or positive for that disease. It's important then, it allows you to use that as part of your breeding program to be in some way responsible and produce healthy puppies. That's what the whole message about DNA is. It important? Some people find it more important than others, and it's also depending on your breed. It's accessible, it's affordable, it's reliable.
How is DNA testing performed?
Well, firstly, we need the material to be able to extract our DNA from. And at Orivet we use three types of material: a buccal swab or a cheek swab, so we get epithelial cells, blood or EDTA white blood cells, and what's the third one?
I'm going to say hair?
No, well, you're on the right track. It's semen samples. We do quite a number of semen extractions, so we extract cells from there. So you get your material, you extract your DNA from that, and then we interrogate it using a machine to be able to reveal things from diseases to traits to DNA profiling. That's it in a simple term.
Some people ask, where does my puppy get their DNA from? Do the boys get it from dad and the girls get it from mum, or do they both get it from a mix of both parents?
From Adam and Eve. No, we get it from your parents. So for example, Charlie would have inherited his DNA 50% from the sire or his dad and 50% from mum. It's very simple. Now, the combination of that is random, so Charlie's litter brother and litter sister will have 50% of DNA from both parents, but it will be different. Not different amounts, different types, so there'll be variability.
Okay.
They may look the same in some ways, but there'll be some differences. That's why I'm going to ask you a question. Who does share and have identical DNA?
The only thing that I can think of right now is identical twins.
Correct. See, you know your science quite well. They share. So if you're any identical twins out there listening, you have the perfect DNA to commit a crime. Because they don't know who's done it.
Perfect defence.
Perfect defence. It was my identical twin brother or identical twin sister.
Do all puppies within the same litter have the exact same DNA?
No. So the identical twins in litters is very, very rare. Don't comment. There's a couple of publications where it's been DNA's been done and they have the same DNA profile, but they are not identical when it comes to their DNA fingerprint or profile. Yes, they will share the same DNA from each parent, but each litter varies. People will tell you, anyone who breeds and sees a litter, you know, there's variation within that litter. If you've got a sound breeding program, then you know what sort of temperament you're going to have based on the sire and dam that you've had. You know some of the phenotypic details, but they all have some variations. Some of them will be, and I'm sure you see it in your litters, you see
definitely
some variation within the litter. What is some of the most common variation you see within the litter? Is it temperament? Is it phenotypic, other things? What is it that you see in your breeding program?
Colour quite a lot, the actual shape of the dog. Good.
Colour is one, because of course parents also carry particular colours that can give different combinations. You're right, one of the biggest questions I get is, what is the potential possibilities of my litter based on the colour of the parents? And that's again another episode.
Should breeders be testing their dogs before they go to breed from them, or is it just important to test them before their puppies go to their new homes?
What I like to think, and I put all these breeders under one thing called responsible breeders. I think as a responsible breeder, if you're getting into that industry of breeding, then unfortunately I'm going to say ignorance is no excuse. You should be screening and screening responsibly to eliminate any potential genetic diseases that are available, and also working with your veterinarian to screen for things like x-rays and doing hips and elbows if it's within your breed. Why shouldn't you? You know, in the end, you're breeding. It's your responsibility that these pets that go to families are as healthy as they can be. You can't guarantee that they're going to be healthy for life, but you can at least try and eliminate some of the key diseases. You know, if I've got a Labrador and you can screen and eliminate 6 genetic conditions, why not? It's
Definitely.
You know, it's simple. So I argue you should, and I also argue that breeders or puppy buyers are becoming more educated. They're reading more. As much as we hate Google, Google is a good source of giving you information before you purchase a dog of what health issues there are, and it's putting pressure on the breeder to test for these. So I argue you should.
How often should a breeder be DNA testing their dog?
Every day. No, as much as I love to say, again, you test based on testing your breeding stock, and you test any puppies that you want to keep, and also potential if you put in any potential at risk or produce any potential at-risk dogs, you should. Look, I'm not asking you to test every stock, but you test, so you test your breeding stock. How often? I'd love to see them test every dog, but you know, we need to keep a balance because affordability. You know, some of these breeds do have a lot of testing to be done. So I just like to think breeding stock, when you've got a litter, you want to decide what you want to keep, you test.
So what is the difference between a disease and a trait?
Good question, and I'm going to confuse you even more. What is the difference between a genotype and a phenotype? So a genotype is when you're actually doing a test to actually something genetically, like a disease, is a genotype. A phenotype, or a trait, encompasses all the other tests that we have, such as colours, furnishings, tail length. So they're about what the dog looks like, the phenotype. So, for example, phenotypic tests have become very popular lately. Why do you think that might be? I'm going to ask you that question. Why do you think this today, like 20 years ago, no one would have paid for a phenotypic test, whereas today it's become very popular. Things such as Merle, things such as improper coat, things such as pied, they are phenotypic tests. But guess what? If you do the full breed profile at Orivet, we give them all to you in one big package. Make it easy for you.
For us, it is a lot of the coat, which is like what you were saying, an improper coat, and colour. That would probably be the biggest.
I still argue what should be the most important is genotype. Screen for diseases first, and then use your phenotypic to maybe eliminate particular colours out of your lines, or you might want to produce particular colours as an interest in your line. So yeah, interest. It's interesting. Sometimes clients will ring me and want to talk about their phenotypic results ahead of their genotypic results.
Yeah.
Which is, to me, is the wrong way about it.
Oh, definitely.
So does that sort of explain what they both are?
Yep.
So my genotype is I'm clear of all the diseases I know. My phenotype is silver hair, European dark features. That's my phenotype.
Is DNA testing essential for all breeding programs, or does it depend on which breed you breed?
It's a good question, and I get this a bit when someone looks up their breed and they see there's no genetic test for it, or no hereditary disease test for it. Some breeds don't have any. There are none published. There are no science to them. So in those cases, it doesn't mean that there's no hereditary diseases for them. It just simply means there's no genetic tests relevant to them. You could still have elbow dysplasia, epilepsy, you could have hip dysplasia, so you've got to still screen for those using the traditional methods. There's no genetic tests. And most of the breeds that don't have genetic tests are some of the ancient breeds, like not many tests for the Chow Chow. There's not many tests for some of the newer breeds that are developmental breeds that we don't have much, that are rare. The Anatolian Shepherd, I believe, only has 1 or 2 tests. So sometimes people look at it and go, you've got no full breed profile apart from the colours. That's because there's no genetic test for them.
Okay. Why do most breeders test the parents and not the puppies?
Because really that's the key to your breeding program. Testing the parents and knowing the status of the parents will determine what your offspring is going to have. It's simple science. If I know what my parents are, then I don't really need to worry about the offspring because they're both either negative or one's negative and one's carrier. You need to test offspring depending on what the result of the parents are. So you must start with your parents. And you know what? I hear this a bit. People go, it's always too difficult to start. I've been breeding for 20 years. Well, you start with what you have now. Do not worry about what you did 10 years ago. Do not worry about what's gone out there. You try and get it right from now. It starts from current. Don't worry about, oh, it might impact my breeding program that I did 10 years ago. You can't change the past, but you can test for the present to help you with the future. It's simple.
So the results of a DNA test. There's clear, carrier, and positive. Can you explain that a little bit?
Okay, so clear is fairly straightforward. Clear is also known as negative. It means you have no copies of the genes associated with that disease. Very easy. Dog is negative or clear. You know, you can breed it to any other dog, no concern. Carrier is also sometimes called, for the scientists, is a heterozygote. We might see it called. It means it carries one copy of the disease, but will not express that disease. So again, if it's a pet, not an issue. Charlie could be carrying 4 potential diseases. He's D6, it's not an issue.
So it stops at him?
Stops at him. Positive, at risk, simply tells you you've got 2 copies of the gene, you are positive and at risk. So what that means is that you may develop the symptoms. You need to get the dog checked if it's got PRA every 2 years by an ophthalmologist to see what the penetrance is. Some people ask you, what's the value then of genetic testing if you get a positive dog and you still don't know whether it's going to be at risk? Well, the positive of genetic testing is 2. If you've got a negative dog, it's negative. If you've got a carrier dog, it's a carrier. All the positive tells you, it tells you that the genes are there, you need to assess them, and that penetrance can vary. And that varies according to genetics, environment, nutrition.
How big of a deal is it if my dog is a carrier of a disease?
Well, in your case, it would be a deal because if it's a carrier of a disease and you've got it in your breeding program, you need to make sure you test the dog that it's breeding with, because 2 potential carriers can produce a positive. For me, it's not an issue at all. If I've got a puppy and it's a carrier, it's not an issue. The dog is desexed, it won't develop that disease. It's because I do get this question a lot from people that purchase a puppy, they get a copy of the report and they ring me and they want to know, my dog's a carrier for disease. What does it means? I could be carrying diseases. You know, I need to be screened. My partner needs to be screened because you want to avoid putting 2 carriers together. So, unless the dog is a breeding animal, not an issue, no risk at all. And then of course there are diseases that are dominant, but we don't list those as carriers. They're positive heterozygous or positive homozygous.
Okay, so that actually the terminology changes.
Changes. They're not called a carrier. If it's a dominant disease and it's a carrier, we change the terminology to positive heterozygous.
So DNA testing started off quite a while ago.
Yeah.
And I remember in one of the podcasts, I heard you say that it started off with 1 test.
Wow, yeah. Whew.
And it's come a long way. How many tests can Orivet do now?
So I should have done and counted them. And look, it's over 240 individual tests. It could be around 255, 260. That includes diseases and traits. And you're right, when I first started, it was 1 test. The first test I offered, without showing my age, was VWD in Dobermans. And when I first started at Orivet, we only had 48 odd tests.
Okay.
So we add tests as we go along. We love that because it means that we're keeping all breeders up to date on all the new tests, and tests come out every 6 to 12 months. We try and add new tests every 6 months, every 12 months. We try and do them as a group. We don't increase our price by adding them. We should though, I know what you're thinking, we don't. But you know, it's great, we're just adding on. And there's some tests that we just can't offer.
Yep.
Can't offer them all. We try and offer as most, because most people want to go to one place to do all their testing, just like you do.
It does make it a lot easier when you can get
easier.
all tests done at once.
So around about 250, Joe, without double checking, over 250 tests.
Okay, so some people get like a single test done, others get the 250, all 250 tests done.
So, yeah, good question. So like we do, I call this the plain hamburger versus the hamburger with a lot philosophy. So some people just want a plain hamburger, that's the DNA profiling. Only want to verify their pedigree and parents, but then getting egg on the burger and getting cheese on the burger and tomato, and for any vegetarian we do tofu burgers as well, is capped at $195. It doesn't matter if you do four tests, or if you want 4 ingredients in your burger, or 10 ingredients in your burger, it's going to be $195. That's our full breed profile. Very popular. Most people don't do a single test because they find that doing one test is $60 odd, and you know, I can do the other tests that I need to do for an extra $130.
Yeah, so it encourages them to.
Yeah, so it's
to
DNA profiling is the second most popular group of tests in our full breed profiles, and cavoodles, French bulldogs, dachshunds tend to be the 3 most popular.
They're the 3 popular ones. Okay. And how many tests would you say? I don't know if you actually know this off the top of your head. Some people get 250, other people get, you know, only a few. How many tests has Orivet done all up from the start?
Wow, let me think. So, you know, I'd like to think between, without giving away too much information to the tax department here, between 60 to, let's just go 80,000 a year. So, based on how many grey hairs I've got, you work it out. I've been in this industry for a long time, and lots of clients, lots of, let's go, you know, I'd love to say close to $1 million.
Close to $1 million,
for the
okay.
tax department. Let's say, you know, maybe 800, 700,000. A lot of freebies, a lot of redos, a lot of reconfirmations. But yeah, look, it's you know, we aren't a market like the US.
Yeah.
We are, you know, Australia is a fairly reasonable market, although we have a fairly high pet population. We have breeding animals that sit at about 250,000 per annum that are out there. You know, we capture about a third of those that actually test. So yeah, about 80 to 90,000 a year.
Okay, so that's it's a lot of tests, more than I was expecting.
Is it?
It was more than I was expecting.
Well, half of them come from you, don't they?
We want to test for a lot of things.
No.
So it's come a long way already, and like for somebody like me that doesn't really sort of know where it's going, but sees a lot of potential with it, where do you see DNA testing going in the future? Like, what are the big changes apart from more tests that come through?
Yeah, good question again. To good research. So what's happened? Technology's got better, got quicker, got more affordable. So where I think it'll go is you won't longer be worried about doing one test or a full breed profile. It'll be just a whole sequencing of the dog's genome to come up with every potential combination, disease, trait, all through one. And there's a famous little slide that I put up that we think in about 5 to 10 years' time, it'll be more expensive to flush your toilet than it will be to sequence your genome. You know, the way water's going, the way, you know, the bills, it's getting more expensive to do that, and genetic testing is getting more affordable. Like when I started 20 years ago, I ran one test and charged you $220. Today, people would not pay more than $40 or $50 for one test. So now what it's about was give you more information, more data, because we're running what we call mass arrays and chip arrays, which has it all on there. It will literally go to the stage where we will sequence it, and for around about $150, you'll get a whole sequence genome. You may even be able to go and go, I want a cavoodle that's apricot this and this, and then it'll match it all up and tell you what 2 dogs put, and done.
Well, that was my question. My question was, how long do I have to wait until I can say to a customer that, yes, I will make sure that in April I'll have a girl for you that's dark red, that's curly, with white on her chest and white on her paws.
You'll have your 2 sequence genomes, you'll be able to plug them into a system, and it'll select for you the 2 that potentially will give you what you want. It'll be like you're selecting your dog in some ways, which is sort of happening now with phenotypic tests, is people are matching together potential sire and dam for colour combinations, which have become very attractive in today's market.
Thanks a lot for your time. I really appreciate it.
Over?
It's not over.
What?
We'll have another one. Don't worry.
We might have to do a series 2. Justin, this is not going to be, and we'll do it maybe in the autumn garden when we need another series. This is not. We've only just touched the surface there, but look, I've enjoyed it. It's been great. I love that you're coming out and doing these to try and educate people about it.
And myself included.
Myself included. And, you know, it's good. I'm happy to chat, and people know me. I never say no to it. But you know, you're young. You could be the next genetic George. I don't know. I'm ready to retire. But look, it's lovely. Thank you for the opportunity I want to also thank that, like it is at Orivet, I'm the face that looks like I do all the work, but I can tell you there's some great work being done by some people behind this camera, which we're going to shout out to.
Is.
Great work. Remind me what their names again. We're going to shout out to them, or do they want to keep it low key? But you know,
we've got Lachlan there. We've got Gus as well.
Gus and Lachlan, they've been here for 2 hours setting this up.
They have been. They
just
can't
so
complain.
I really want to shout out to them. They've been really nice, and they haven't cost me anything, not even a glass of water. So really,
what more could you ask for?
Yeah, perfect. No, lovely. Thank you again. Appreciate it anytime. And if people want to reach out to me, don't. I'm too busy.